Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Matchbook horse racing podcast where we're previewing some fair action, some open enough contests, the Hungerford, the Great St Wilfrid, and such like. And yeah, it is. There's some fair betting opportunities, I think it's fair to say, for all its modest stuff. Before we get stuck into York next week, 2 podcasts for York next week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. We'll confirm times for you. Read those over social media. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's important to do so because it makes it easier for you to digest all of our content if that's what you want to do. It helps you and it helps us as well with numbers of subscribers, etc., for obvious reasons. Welcome along to Ed Quigley. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Tom. Hi, Charlie. Yeah, all good. Still waiting for the summer to kick in.
Yes.
Was gonna do some gardening actually after I finish work today, believe it or not, like sort out my petunias, but that plan's all going out the window. So I'll just open a bottle of diet lemonade instead, probably watch the golf.
Charlie, how are your petunias?
My petunias are, I think insignificant, really, if I'm being completely honest. But I like the fact that Ed's opening a bottle of diet lemonade to celebrate that he's not having to do any gardening. Yeah, very rock and roll.
That's the life of a horse racing pundit. That's how you roll. Should we get stuck into the previews then? I assume you're all right, Charlie. I'm more concerned about your petunias.
How are you, Tom? What have you been up to? Come on, 10 seconds.
Mate, I'm good. Do you know, can I actually just say I'm going to the 100 today? I'm taking my 2 children and my wife to the 100. So we will probably see the women's game and then we'll have to leave for kids' bedtime about half an hour into the men's game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Lords, Tom.
Yeah, Lords. Are you going?
I'm going too. Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. But every time I book tickets for the 100, it basically pours with rain. I booked them for Edgbaston a couple of weeks ago, and it was a washout. And so I'm hoping I'm looking outside the window and it's raining right now, but I'm hoping by mid-afternoon it's going to clear.
It's going to be fine. I will definitely see you for a diet lemonade later.
Perfect.
Deal. Right, the Geoffrey Freer is the first race we're going to be previewing. It's the 150 at Newbury. We're just going to go in ITV racing order rather than stick to the tracks. So we'll go Newbury, Newmarket, Newbury, Ripon, etc., etc. Kamari heads the betting currently at 4.5. Arrest is 4.7. Klondike is 5.5. Shandoz is 7.0. Jack Darcy 9.0. And then we're into the bigger prices, including with Enemy, who I put up at a massive price in the Goodwood Cup. And he was only beaten 36 lengths. Ed, who do you like?
I'd be concentrating on the 3-year-olds here. I think the line of more exposed older horses. I respect Kamari. Obviously, he's the market leader, rise on the back of a win. But yeah, concentrating on those down at the bottom. Klondike, clearly a major player here for an Inform Yard. But I prefer Arrest for Dettori and Team Gosden. We were chatting off air, weren't we, about the amount of rainfall that's due at Newbury. I think that could be the key. There's varying forecasts, but a couple suggesting there's up to 9-10 millimeters of rain overnight at the track. And if that does get into the ground, then there's going to be more soft than anything there, which I think will be a huge bonus to Arrest. And frankly, Dettori's gone on record to say that. This horse ploughed through the mud when he was beating a short head in the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud at the back end of last season. And then at Chester on reappearance, it was more or less motionless stuff, wasn't it? As he cantered home with the mud flying. Since then, obviously, went to the Derby where he was probably a blend of outclassed and on rattling quick ground. Couldn't get the job done. Frankie Dettori's official line in the aftermath was ground was just too fast. They let him take his chance at Royal Ascot on similar ground again, and he didn't really lift a leg. He's down in class here into a Group 3, rain on the way. He's an unexposed 3-year-old. He's officially the best rated horse in the field. I'd have him a lot closer to Kamari in the betting personally than the market suggests at the moment.
I agree, Ed, for what it's worth. When I first brought the race up, I thought, well, Arrest, I'm not backing him. And I was sort of half interested in Klondike, who's very lightly raced. Kamari doesn't really do it for me. I'm not convinced about him over this distance necessarily. But then with the rain on the way, and that's not because it's going to be testing, I don't think, but just to take any sting out the ground. I think I'm working on easy side of good, but that'll be fine for him, I think. Quick ground at Epsom was not his bag, and it was very quick at Ascot. Not a lot of horses handled it, and he didn't. I thought after the Derby he might be a horse that wanted stepping up in trip, and because he just didn't look very quick. And I think I'm glad he's not a favourite. If he was favourite, I don't know if I'd be backing him, but I think for 4.7 or wherever he is, yeah, we'll do it for me. So Arrest ticks the boxes for me, Charlie.
Yeah, I can see that argument, and the ground should definitely be way more in his favour in his last couple of starts, and I'd rather be with him over Kamari. But personally, I came down with Klondike. I thought it was a trappy race to start the day. I was just looking at it. Kamari, I think last time was his first win in 2 years. Arrest, if those couple of runs on quicker ground than ideal haven't left a mark, I think this track and the ground is going to suit him ideally. But I wondered whether it might leave I'd like to see him go and do it really before I went and backed him again after having 2 runs on quick ground, if it's left a mental mark on him. And yeah, and Shandoz again hasn't ran since November 2021. So I thought Klondike was solid. William Haggis operating at a 25% strike rate now. This horse won on debut. He's then ran well in listed and group company, and a couple of times just got himself into ordinary track positions. Again, I think this track will work well for him. And if he can just race a little bit more professionally and not end up slightly out of his ground, I think there's more to come from him, basically, is the way I would see it. So Klondike for me, but again, it would be one of those I wouldn't be crazy strong on this race.
Yeah, I think we're all semi-echoing that with the Jeffrey Fair, which kicks things off. We move over to Newmarket, to the 205. It's the Jenningsbet Grey Horse Handicap, which I believe they also, although it's not so well publicised, the day before at Newmarket have a bay horse handicap, but it's just not called that. But you can't enter it as for diversity reasons as a grey horse only, or as a grey horse at all. So there we are. But this is the grey horse handicap, which has Celtic Champion at the top at 7.0, as is Divine Libra, 2 3-year-olds at the top. They've got a half decent record in it. Strike is 9.0, Magical Max is 10.0, 11.0, and bigger the rest. Charlie, straight back at you.
Silver Samurai for me. I mean, like you said earlier on, that there's some decent field sizes this weekend and some definite opportunities if you can find an angle. I came down with this horse. He ran okay last time at Newmarket. I think he's beat 4 lengths. So that I'm not sure he's completely straightforward, but he last won off 92 in May of last year. Started this year off 99, and he's down to a mark of 87 for tomorrow. And this is the first time he's run the Class 4 handicap since July 2021. And so I just thought with that drop in class and the back class that he carries into this, he looks a really well handicapped horse that's sort of been knocking on the door on his last couple of starts without quite getting the job done. Like I say, he comes with risks attached. He kind of carries his head a little bit high, and I'd say he's a little bit awkward. But I just thought down to this grade for the first time. He's won at a big price. I'll be backing him winning place.
Okay, I'm going to chance Divine Libra, who's a 3-year-old, I think, with a little bit of upside. My one caveat to that is going to be that if it's still good to firm, I won't be backing him, because I don't think he wants that extreme. He's fine on good ground, as he proved last time. This is an easier contest than he raced in last time, where the race sort of developed his side, but he just didn't quite finish off as well as a few others in front of him, Sharp Power and Dream for Gold. But I just think that's a solid bit of form for this drop in grade, company that he's proved he's well capable of in the past. As far as his draw goes, the stalls are the far side. I don't think he'll get too far back. I like horses that have a rail by and large at the track. Well, I'm not sure which track they're on, but either way, he's going to be towards that rail over the far side and up towards the pace as well, I think. It says last time he was held up in midfield, but he really wasn't. He was ridden a bit close to the pace. I think that's a decent bit of form, and this is an easier contest. So it'd be a small win place bet, because there's just about enough juice to do that on Divine Libra. Ed?
I was going for last year's winner for Lightning to strike twice. Excuse the pun, but yeah, I thought this you'd imagine has been the target for some time. Interestingly, outside of the Grand National, this is the only race my mum watches all year. She loves it. Loves the grey horses in action. Absolutely loves them. But anyway, yeah, I think strike solid claims here. Funnily enough, drawn in 16 right against the far rail next to your pick there, Tom. Likes to come from off the pace. Albeit it was a much smaller field last year when winning this, but was held up in last. I'm hoping this big field, strong gallop, should really play to this individual strength. So I think we'll be switched off by Rob Hornby over that far side towards the back of the pack. And fingers crossed come with a late rattle. I thought there were signs. Well, there was a lot of positives last time out, obviously, at this venue when just being touched off. That, the fires are burning nicely. I just think everything's in place for a big each way kind of win and place angle in here. So as confident as you can be in a race of this nature, I'm looking for strike to hit the frame.
Okay, that is the Grey Horse handicap done. What's your mum called?
Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary. Did she watch this as well as the Grand National and the Grey Horse handicap?
She has done, but she just tunes in to look at your hair, she said. So, yeah.
So, understandable.
On mute. Yeah, why not? 225 at Newbury is the Highclere Castle Gin handicap. 4 a day is 7.0. Libra Tiger is 7.0. Harry Brown 8.0. There are some nice open handicaps, aren't they? Swift Asset 8.0. 9.5 for Woolhampton 11.0 and bigger the remainder. I won't kick us off here because I'm not overly enamoured with my bet here, but I'm going to chance 4 a day. I'll make the case shortly. Oh, well, I'll do it now. Why not? I will kick off. Ashee Murphy, Rod Millman. Again, on the proviso that the rain comes and that it's easy side of good. I thought won well enough at Foss last time, has proved that she's a horse for the minimum trip and has remained largely in good form here. I've been guessing the draw wrong at Newbury a few times. Certainly earlier on in the season, you seem to want to be coming up nearer the stand side. That's where the race develops anyway. But it hasn't always worked out like that. This horse is drawn around about in the middle, so that's absolutely fine. And the blinkers that went on last time seem to eke out a bit more improvement. He'll be on the speed. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And they keep going with the blinkers. She will be, sorry. It's a win and place shout anyway for a jockey and trainer that go well together. Charlie.
Swift Asset for me. Again, I'm going to back him win and place. He was really highly tried last year, ran okay in the super sprint, then ran in the Richmond after that and started the year off rated 90. And yeah, I suppose not for the first time as a 3-year-old. He took a while to find his feet. Ended up dropping down to 78. And then he ran okay at Goodwood, finished second. He got a bit far back and the winner had flown by the time he got out and got rolling. Backed that up by winning on his next start at Bath and travelled really strong that day and won cozy. And then backed that up with a really good effort at Brighton, finishing second. I think there's still mileage off his mark of 84. And again, I think this track will suit him as well. And there's a bit of pace to aim at. This horse will travel really strong. So win and place, Swift Asset for me for the Richard Hannon, Pat Dobbs.
Swift Asset for Charlie and Ed. I'm just confirming a price for Swift Asset for you, 8.0. Ed.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the top weight here when the dealing's done. Down in grade, this individual's been kind of essentially going nowhere in much tougher contests than this. So drops down into a class 3 and it's also just plummeted down the official weights. I mean, this horse last one off 87 and was rated 100 last October. Has dropped down to 87 now. So is absolutely, plummeting down the weights. Come down a stone essentially this season. And I just thought it was really interesting here. Rain arriving will not be a problem. Will Buick booked to ride as well. I mean, this horse has won 4 times in his career. Buick's been on board for 2 of those 4 occasions. So obviously he's a top class jockey in his own right. But yeah, clearly booked for a reason, inverted commas, to use that cliche. And I just think, yes, he plummeted down the weights. Ground is fine. Ease in class. Yes, a couple of below par efforts, but should find things much easier in a class 3. I thought a double figure kind of price was definitely one to take note of.
Okay, that's the 225 done at Newbury. We roll on to Ripon. So this is the first of the contest there. I'll get prices up very soon, but they're big prices by and large. So when the prices are given, I'll when the selection is given, I'll give the prices out. You're both with win and play shouts, unsurprisingly. Ed, first of all.
Yep. Thornaby Pearl was my pick in this one. Again, excuse me. Course of distance winning performer who has a blemished record over the C&D. In fact, the course overall has never finished out of the three, and I thought there could still be more to come from this Adrian Nichols representative. Baron McHugh on board. I say 2 starts ago, got the job done in good style over course of distance, and then wasn't disgraced in an absolute swamp at Nottingham last time out when shot up in the weight. So it will be interesting to keep an eye on the weather there at the Yorkshire venue. I think this horse has only ever won with the word soft somewhere in the going description. So it's just something to bear in mind. I think it's on the slow side of good at the moment, but like most places, they're expecting quite a bit overnight. So bottom line being, if it does absolutely throw it down, that's not going to do too much of a harm, you wouldn't have thought, to Thornaby Bill's chances. So yeah, off 72, I still think there's mileage for improvement there, and will be my win and play selection. And as you say though, Tom, it's one of those you could easily make a case for 7 or 8 of these. Charlie
Poste, where are you looking?
Yeah, win and place again for me. Impeller, drawn right against the rail. For Tim Easterby, he's always ridden by Duran Fenterman, or certainly the majority of the time. In recent times, he's been riding him. He won off 63 at Carlisle back in July. He was very busy then. Ran consistently well next 2 starts. Disappointed at Haydock after showing loads of toe, as is his way. He's a real front runner, this horse. But that was his 3rd start in 10 days. He's been given a rest now, I think all of 13 days off. But yeah, I just think, off a low mark, there's still mileage. He's won off this sort of mark previously in the past. I just thought he could lead them for a very long way up against the rail. It's a win and play shout. Well, like I say, he'd be one of my sort of lukewarm suggestions, but in a very, very open race. I mean, it's great to see. They didn't run this race last year because they didn't have enough confirmations in the Great St Wilfrid to justify having it on. So the fact we've got 19 in this is really good to see, and competitive race, but Impeller win and place.
I think you touched on something quite important there, which is being on a rail, and I think the high draw can be crucial. And as Steve Jones said a few years ago, you have to be on the speed in this race, or on the straight course at Ripon. I'm gonna and he had a real rant about it as well.
I thought you were gonna say Johnny Bairstow, something along those lines.
As Steve Jones said, he can't keep. So, and then he picked the wrong speed horse. But anyway, American Star is drawn 17. I was chatting to George Baker yesterday, who works for Ed Walker, where this horse used to be. Talked about how the horse has a bundle of talent, but just they could never quite get him right at home. He's moved to Ruth Carr, which I think will be the perfect place for him. It's just a completely different atmosphere. They get turned out every day. He's a horse that really lives on his nerves. So I think that could really help settle him down. Obviously, it's a bit of a punt on first start for Ruth, but at 15.0, I thought he was the most exciting bet on the day because I can find a bit of an angle in there anyway. So on the speed, near the rail, new yard, you'll probably know your fate when he goes into the stalls, depending on how he is. But he quite excited me at 15.0, American Star. Incidentally, on the comments, tell us your best bet of the weekend. I want to know who you're backing this weekend, whether you agree with the panel or not. And you can do that on the recording as well. So keep your best bets coming in. We move on to the Heart Bingo's Summer Sizzler Handicap. This is at Newbury. Again, decent size field and prices for this. So it's a field of 14 going forward. Plenty of the usual suspects over the straight 7. Open Mind is 7.0. Classic is 9.0. Spangled Mac is 10.0 with cheek pieces on. And then we're into the bigger prices. Charlie, you can kick us off.
Yeah, came down with Spangled Mac for George Bowie and William Buick. He's ran 3 really solid races since returning from Dubai, including twice at Royal Ascot in the Buckingham Palace and the Wokingham 2 days apart. And, he ran a pretty solid race in the International on the wrong side behind stablemate Baradar. And I like I say, he's kind of a standing dish in these big field handicaps. And what was interesting was Baradar obviously won that International with the first time cheek pieces on, and Spangled Mac now reaches for the same set, the same headgear for George Bowie. So yeah, Spangled Mac win and place for me. I think he's one of those that his turn is he's due his turn, and hopefully it's tomorrow, Tom.
I'll go with Pop Master for Ed Walker. He obviously won a few starts back before his quick reappearance, and I mean it was the day later, and he didn't really feature on that occasion. That was in the Bunbury Cup. The Ascot run came with a bit of cut underfoot, where he got the perfect setup to the race. And then I felt the stiff 7 at Ascot is probably not ideally his bag, for all that he was a bit short of room and denied a run. Just thought he was a really safe, solid win place shout at 13.0. I thought that he finished a lot closer at Ascot last time with a run, and I think the 7 here is going to suit that a little bit better. So win place very much for Pop Master. I thought that was a very solid option. Ed?
Yeah, if the rain really gets in, I think Scholarship's definitely of interest. I think that horse had a cracking chance last week till the meeting was called off. But I'm rolling the dice here, one at probably a big price. That's the bottom weight Alpha Capture. Visor on for the first time. William Haggis, Tom Marcon. Look, there's 2 ways looking at this. Either this horse is one of the best handicapped horses of the afternoon, or he's gone at the game. And I don't quite know yet which side of the fence I am. Well, the fact I'm tipping him probably tells you which side of the fence I am. But point being, he's a big enough price to justify having tilted him, because last season he was pretty smart. I mean, he was a listed winner at York, and then he was in good form on an artificial surface back in the spring. He's rated up to 103, and then since then things just haven't gone right at all. It has to be said, including at Ascot last time out. But you hear trainers often moaning that the assessor isn't releasing the handbrake quick enough. Well, in the space of 3 runs, this horse has come down from 100 to 85. I mean, he's come down over a stone. He's in here off bottom weight. Visor on for the first time. The Haggis team are flying. He won't mind if there's any rain around. It rained all night before he won at York last year. And I just thought it's one of those, as I said, it could be his last run, in which case that's it, if you see what I'm saying, if he falls out the back of the television here. But he just looks too well handicapped on the former last season to ignore, in my view. So Alpha Capture. But I said, if we really do get the rain, which is absolutely, I've got the monsoons here in Cheltenham at the moment, if it really does get in the ground overnight in Newbury, Scholarship looks dangerous. I think in here off 87, obviously won on his seasonal reappearance over course of distance on soft ground. And if the headgear does the trick, I don't think he'll be far away.
19.0, second from the bottom of the betting. So nice big price there. And on to another big field handicap in the form of the Great St Wilfrid handicap. I am going with a Ratea here. I think it's an absolute perfect fit for this race. It's Summergan, incidentally, who heads the betting at 7.0. He's the sort of horse that I out and out want to take on in this kind of race. He's a tremendous handicapper who's really well treated, but just not a great St Wilfrid horse for me, given the way he goes about his racing personally. There is pace on both sides, but Ratea drawn up against the stand side rail. He's a keen going, fast horse. He wouldn't. What's the rain at the moment? What's the ground at the moment? Good. He if there is a lot of rain around there, if it was soft, I'd be put off probably. But he's held his form largely very well since the middle of summer last year. He just needs to make sure he's away as he has been the last few starts. There was a point where he was just a bit slowly away. So he tends to go down early, but as long as he gets out at 20, I think he's ideally positioned up the stand side rail. And I think he'll go very well. They've taken the hood off, which I quite like as an angle with horses. Hood off can often eke out improvement. I'm wary with him, but I'm tipping in, so I might as well pretend it's an advantage. Charlie.
We make it up as we go along, don't we?
You make it fit your argument, though, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I'm all.
If I was against him, I'd be like, "Well, the hood's off. I mean, he's a nut job." But you know, I'm going to use it as a positive on this occasion because I'm tipping.
Yeah, you roll with him, mate. I came with Gulliver, win and place, drawn 17. This lad started the last season off rated 100, and he was beat a length off 100 at York, and he ran some pretty solid races in big handicaps thereafter. His form tapered off a little bit towards the back end. He's now off 87, and with Mark Wynn claiming another 3, running off 84. His penultimate run, if you go back to it, it was at Ripon in a small field sprint handicap, and he finished 4th, beat a length and a half, but he literally got no run. He was locked up the whole way. So the run style is a concern on this track. You know, he's going to need a lot of luck, but as Tom said, there's loads of speed around him. His last start wasn't great. He ran poorly at Nottingham in June, and we haven't seen him since then. But like I say, there's been a lot of occasions where this horse, I mean, he hasn't won off a break, but he's ran very, very well in big handicaps off a break. So I don't see that as a major negative that he's come in here fresh. And if there's a lot of speed and he gets the breaks at the right time, I think he's so well handicapped. I can't see him not running well. And if they get rain, that isn't going to be an issue to him as well. He's run very well on slow ground before and seems very versatile.
Okay. And did you quote a price there? Apologies if you did.
21? I mean, I've got him at 21.0 here, I think.
21.0. Lovely job. And Ed, you're sitting out the Great St Wilfrid. So I'll bring you in on the Hungerford first of all. 3 different selections going up in the Hungerford. This is the official feature on the day, the 335. 10's not a bad turnout either. With 4.0 Chindit, 4.5 last year's winner Jumbie, Pogo 7.0, Marban 9.0, bigger prices the rest. Go on then, Ed, make the case for Chindit, who's made a mug of me a few times.
Yeah, and it was more. I was between Jumbie and Chindit, but I'd be very nervous about the weather forecast for Jumbie. I mean, it's been pulled out on a couple of occasions when rain's arrived. You know, the handler said wants it as quick as possible. I've just got a funny feeling if we get the rain again, Jumbie's not going to run, and this race falls apart a bit. But I just think Chindit's the solid one. I mean, critics will point to the fact this horse flopped in this race 12 months ago, but had a very different campaign 12 months ago as opposed to now. The run in this race last year was the last run of the season, and it came at the end of after some very hard battles. I think the race against Baid or the race before that. Been to Ascot a couple of times, included Royal Meeting before that, and I've been on the go a long time here. The horse has had just 3 starts. It's been freshened up for a couple of months since Royal Ascot. I think it's probably had a better preparation with this race in mind coming into this. And I think Chindit won't be too concerned if the ground goes onto the slow side of good. Obviously, he's got good winning form here in the past. And yeah, as much as I do like Jumbie, I actually got a feeling. I don't think it's a 1,000,000 to 1. Jumbie doesn't actually go to post here if we get the upper end of the weather forecast. I know connections are getting a bit frustrated. Every time they think they've got a perfect race for Jumbie, the weather seems to come and ruin the party. So, yeah, we'll be interested to see what happens. But Chindit, for me, I just think on balance is a little bit more solid.
Chindit at the top of the betting. I'm going to chance Marban, who does tend to like a bit of cut underfoot. As I say, I'm working easy side of good, maybe good to soft, but that will be absolutely fine. I'm hoping we'll get a nice setup here, like a horse like Mostabshir, who I quite respect actually. He's got blinkers on. He can be a keen going horse anyway. I think he'll go forward out of 1, so there'll be pace over towards that side. Pogo out of 10 tends to crack on with things. Chindit won't be too far away. I guess on the modern games form, Chindit should easily win this, and he's definitely a better horse this year. They said they found the key to him this year, and I think that's come to fruition. For all he wasn't up to it at Ascot, and the straight mile at Ascot in Group 1 company, I'm not really sure is his bag. He's won over the mile on the round course there, but given his way of going, there's lots of pace on. That I think will suit Marban, who he's yet to really live up to his full potential, definitely. He ran well at Salisbury behind Run to Freedom in form that's worked out pretty well. I thought the ground was a bit quick that day. I think 7's his ideal trip, and there should hopefully be more to come. Charlie.
Yeah, I nearly went for Marban. I could see that 100%. And as we said before, how we all make it up as we go along. I was against Chindit because he disappointed in this last year, and so I'm happy to be with Jumbie. And if the ground goes very soft and he doesn't run, then so be it. But I think he looks very solid for this. He took a couple of runs last year to get rolling and did the same again this time round. He was then good when he won the John O'Gorn, and I thought he ran really well under a penalty in the Criterion at Newmarket when possibly the winner was favoured by racing up the far side rail. I can't see at the weights why Pogo should turn the form with him. And like I say, I was just wary of Chindit at the prices because he flopped in this race last year. So I just thought Jumbie was a very, very solid one. And as Ed has alluded to, if it ends up going soft and he doesn't run, then so be it. But I'd rather be with him if he does run and happy to leave the race alone if he's pulled out because of the ground.
Okay, that's the Hungerford Stakes done. Any other bets? Ed, you can always rely on you on a bit of a curveball. I like this. The 7:30 at Raisin.
Yeah, Oslo. Yeah. No, seriously though, Paddy Brennan, who's much rather be playing golf or watching a quiz show on a Saturday night. His stage of his career, I'm sure. He's headed to Market Raisin for one ride on a Saturday night on the Fergal O'Brien train, Oslo. It was the notebook course of all notebook courses last time out, over an extended 2-3. Probably needed the run, staying on strongly in the closing stages. Up in trip here today. I think there's a lot more to come. As I say, Paddy Brennan going there just to ride Oslo. I think it's got any amount of potential in this grade, and I'm pretty keen on Oslo's chances.
That's Oslo in the 7:20 at Raisin. 7:30 at Raisin, I should say. Now, Matchbook Zero long shot. Remember, the market goes live at 10 a.m. every day. If you haven't checked out Matchbook Zero, do so because you're most likely to be getting best odds. It's 0% commission and there's zero margin in this form of betting. So you get, by and large, best odds with the exchange anyway, as you should know by now. And with zero margin, zero commission, that's only further enhanced. So if you fancy something, it's well worth taking advantage of. And we use this for the long shot section, which mine is American Star in the Silver Trophy at Ripon, the 240. Charlie?
Yeah, same race. Impeller for me. I think 21.0 in that race.
And Ed?
Yep, Alpha Capture 3 o'clock at Newbury. Either about to retire or is a Stonewell in. We'll soon find out.
At best lays, we haven't. I've just put one in because I think it is worth. The more we went through that Kamari race, I think Klondike has got a bit about him. This is the opening race, and obviously I've put up a rest against Kamari, so I think he's worth taking on in the place market and hoping that there's three better than him. I think particularly if it's soft ground, I just don't think he'll get home. So I'm going to place lay Kamari in that. And that'll be he'll be odds on anyway in that market. It's around about 4.0 now. Saturday best bets. We're going one per race. I'll go for the Silver Trophy again. American Star, Charlie.
225 at Newbury, Swift Asset, and Ed, just out of interest, I think Paddy Brennan is also partial to a Diet Lemonade.
Surprise me.
I don't know about his petunias, but
he loves a petunia. Ed, your best bet?
Arrest. I want more rain the merrier. Arrest at Newbury. So I've got the top off the top of my head, 150, isn't it? Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Thanks all, Charlie, Ed. We will see you again, viewers, listeners, whichever way you're digesting this, on Tuesday for the first 2 days of York's Ebor meeting. Fantastic week in prospects. I look forward to seeing you then. Check out insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the best bets, which will go up later today, courtesy of producer Daniel Hussey. And we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.